Hello guys, welcome yet to another video, and in this video going to continue our series of looping through arrays in JavaScript. And in this video going to use a method in JavaScript known as map method. Now map method is a method that's almost similar to the for each method that we learned in our previous lesson. Now today we're going to see how to use the map method. Now they are quite different in this scenario. The for each method was using the same array that we had to make changes to that array and give us whatever we want. But now the map method creates another array and then gives us what we want from the new array, or we must create another array. Now for that case, let's create another array. Let's say I have my numbers here 1, 5, 9, and 20, and we want to find the square of these numbers using the map method. So I'll create a variable that is relatable to that course. So we can say we want num squared or num squared. Okay, and then we're going to use our array name, that's numbers, and then dot map, and then the same parameters that we had in the previous for each method are also used here. So we're going to use the three parameters, that's the current value, the index, and the array. Okay, but now since we are only interested in finding the square, now we only use the first parameter, that's the current value. So I'll use my parentheses there and say nums. Okay, just say nums there, then use our arrow function, and then we're going to use a return value. So I'm going to introduce a return value here. What do we want to return? We want to return those nums and then squared, or the nums times nums. So how is this code working? So this map method works in this way. So you've created a variable known as nums squared, which is holding all the numbers in the numbers array, but they must be mapped through this method, which takes in nums, which is a number, okay, in this array, or an element in this array. And then it takes that first number in the first take, then comes and squares it here. So in the first take, you're going to have 1 times 1, which is 1. Then in the second iteration, it's going to pick the second value, that's 5, okay? Then it puts it here in the argument. So in the first iteration, the first number is the argument. In the second iteration, the second number is the new argument. Now we have 5. So 5 times 5 gives us 25. So if I'm going to console log nums squared, I'm going to have an array that has the squares of these numbers here. So I expect to have 1, 25, 81, and 400. So let's run it. Yes, so as you can see here, we have the squares of these numbers in the array: 1, 25, 81, and 400. Okay, all right, I want us to see another scenario. Now we can make use of array mapping, and in this case I want us to create an array known as student details. And then I'm going to have an array that has objects inside it. And then the first object is going to have name, that's the first key. So I'll say John. And then I'm going to have another attribute or another key here, that is age. So I'll say 23 there. So let me have another object here with a similar style. Okay. I'm gonna have another person there by the name Ken, then aged 33 or 34 there. Then gonna have the last student here, whose name is let's have now Harry. Okay, and then we're gonna have the age is 24. Okay, so we have our array of objects there. So I'll want to map through this array, and then I'm only interested in knowing the names of my students. Okay, so I'll want to create an array that has only the names of the students, omitting their ages. Okay, now right away let's have the variable that's going to hold the student names. So I can say student names. Okay, student names. And then I'm going to map the student details Then I'm going to map student details dot map like that. Then I'm going to have my parameter here, which is a student name. Okay, so I'm going to have it there, and then have my arrow function. Then I'm going to return the student name dot name. So this is what I mean for every object. So this is student name stands for these individual objects. Okay, so this whole object here is the one that we mean by student. So I can change the name. Now, what next? Next, we want to create the variable that is going to hold the student names. So I'll call it student name. Okay. Then I'm going to use my original array, then map through it. Then inside it, have our parameter here, which is student details. Okay, for an individual student. Because when we map through individual elements. So I'm going to have a return value here that's going to help me to return the individual names of every student. So I'll have my variable holder there that is going to be student detail dot name. So by this case, I mean, every time I look through student details array, I'm going to meet objects. So every object will be represented by student detail here. So from this end to this end, that's a student detail. Okay, so when I look through every student detail, I'm only interested to have a return value of the name of that student. Okay, so let me console log this new variable known as student name. Then expect to see a list of 3 names from our array. So we've looked through an array of objects and then only extracted the name of every object or every element in the array. So let's see. So you can see here we have an array that has only the names. That's John, Ken, and Harry. We have omitted the age simply because I'm only interested in returning the student detail.name only. Okay, so that's how you can make use of a mapping method, guys. It's a very powerful tool, and you're likely to meet it while developing your app or your website. So see you in the next video. Thank you.